I mean, just imagine for a second compressing a really grueling 7-day corporate process, right? Like all the paperwork, the endless approvals, the back and forth emails, compressing all of that into exactly 56 seconds.
It sounds like science fiction, honestly.
Right. But we're talking about fundamentally rewiring how a business actually operates today. Welcome to Dataverse by NeenOpal. This is episode 37. And today we are totally skipping the theory. We're bypassing all the hype.
Yeah, which is desperately needed right now.
Exactly. Because usually when you hear a presentation about enterprise AI, you get these glossy, beautiful slide decks presenting this theoretical vision of an automated future.
But if you look at the actual numbers.
Yes. You look at a company's actual profit and loss statement, their P&L, and you just hear crickets. Like nothing has actually changed on the bottom line.
Well, the gap between that shiny slide deck and the actual balance sheet is massive right now. I mean, it is the defining problem in the industry today.
So our mission for this deep dive is to completely unpack that gap and figure out how to actually cross it. We are pulling insights from the 2026 AI Catalyst Symposium.
Oh, that was a fantastic event.
It really was. This was an exclusive event hosted by NeenOpal and AWS in Colombo, Sri Lanka. And picture the scene, right? It's a Friday evening, and you have over 100 top executives. I'm talking CFOs, COOs, CIOs, all packed into one room.
And the most striking thing about that gathering, at least to me, was that the debate over whether AI even matters, that's completely dead.
Oh, yeah. The early adopter phase is totally over.
Right. The only question left in that room was how to actually make it work, how to put it into production without, bleeding money on endless experiments.
And that shift in the conversation is what makes this data so compelling for you listening. When you stop arguing about whether a technology is real, you're forced to confront the harsh reality of execution.
And execution is exactly where things are currently breaking down. We are seeing a massive bottleneck across the board.
Yeah, let's put some actual numbers to that bottleneck because they are genuinely staggering. So globally, over 72% of organizations are using AI in at least one business function.
That's a huge majority.
Right. Now, zooming in on Sri Lanka for a moment, Pavel Gupta, he's the co-founder of NeenOpal, he estimated that figure locally is currently around 10 to 15%.
Which is a gap, sure.
It is, but that geographic gap isn't even the most shocking part. The sharper number, the one that really explains the reality of enterprise AI for you, regardless of where you do business, is the failure rate. Pavel noted that 85 to 90% of AI initiatives worldwide fail at the proof of concept stage.
Wow, 90%.
Yeah, less than 10% actually become working systems. They just get stuck in this endless loop of piloting.
The infamous POC graveyard is a very crowded place right now. It's mostly filled with, millions of dollars buried right next to those old blockchain projects from 5 years ago.
Right, exactly.
But the cost of staying in that graveyard is now becoming quantifiable, which is scary. The symposium data showed that organizations that are successfully scaling AI, they see revenue growth 1.5 times higher than their competitors.
That's significant.
And in practical, real-world application, that gap can jump to 2 or 3 times higher.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to push back a little on that 2 to 3 times revenue growth figure. The big takeaway from the symposium was that leaders need to stop sizing the AI investment and start sizing the, quote, cost of delay.
Right, exactly.
But our business is just running on FOMO right now, like fear of missing out. Think of it like a digital treadmill. If a company doesn't adopt AI today, are they just running a bit slower than the guy next to them? Or is this a genuine structural shift where if you're late, you actually just fall off the back of the treadmill completely?
What's fascinating here is that your treadmill analogy is spot on, but you have to factor in that the speed of the belt is compounding.
Meaning it's accelerating.
It is actively accelerating underneath you. This isn't just about doing the exact same tasks a little bit faster. As Pavel pointed out, we are now at a point where intelligent agents are doing in minutes what used to take days.
Right.
The window to catch up is actively closing because the early adopters aren't just getting faster, right? They are structurally rewiring their operations.
So the companies that are still running, like cute little pilot programs in 2026, are going to be chasing competitors who completely rebuilt their internal engines 2 years ago.
Precisely. You cannot close a compounding gap with just, a sudden burst of catch-up investment later on. If your competitor has a 2-year head start on operational efficiency, their entire cost base is different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Their pricing power is different. Their customer response time is different.
Yeah.
So the cost of delay isn't just a missed opportunity. It's an active erosion of your competitive baseline. Every single day you wait, your core business gets weaker relative to the market.
Which naturally leads us to ask, if the cost of falling behind is practically fatal, why are 90% of these projects dying in the lab? I mean, are the tools just not good enough yet?
It's a fair question.
The symposium had a really interesting panel on this. Biswajit Das, who is the AWS head of AI for the region, made a deliberate point to answer this. And by the way, I love this detail. He's a former bartender by training.
Oh, I love that.
Right, a former bartender who now leads AI at one of the world's largest tech organizations. It's just fantastic. It proves this isn't just magic reserved for PhDs anymore.
That background is such a brilliant detail because it completely underscores his main argument. The tools are already here, and they are highly accessible.
Yeah.
The technology itself is not the blocker. Every single enterprise in that room could have started building something useful the very next morning with off-the-shelf cloud services.
So if we can't blame the tech, what is actually stopping us? The panel laid out 3 massive blockers. And, spoiler alert, they are all human.
It always is, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
So blocker number 1, data readiness. Daminda Pereira from SwissTech was very blunt about this. He basically said, if you don't have the right data sets and structures, the AI is useless. But he didn't frame this as an IT issue. He framed it as an operational discipline problem.
And that distinction is everything. Fragmented data is almost always the symptom of fragmented, siloed teams.
How so?
Well, to break that down for a second, just imagine how a normal company operates. The marketing department might track a client and call them, say, customer A, but the accounting department uses completely different software, and over there, that exact same client is logged as vendor 452.
Oh, I've seen that a million times.
Right. And if you point an AI at those two systems, it thinks they are two completely different entities. It hallucinates, it makes mistakes, and the pilot project fails.
So you literally have to fix the human silos before the AI can make sense of anything?
Exactly.
The data foundation requires departmental alignment, which bleeds perfectly into blocker number 2, people resistance. This is the classic, fear of job displacement.
Oh.
Pereira noted he's seen this exact dynamic across industries for 2 decades. It's the identical resistance that happened with enterprise resource planning systems, those ERPs that act as a company's central nervous system. And it happened with cloud migrations, too.
Yeah.
It's happening right now with AI. People hear the word automation, and they immediately think redundancy.
And we have to be really clear here that this is a leadership failure, not a technology failure.
Okay, say more about that.
The organizations that move fast are the ones where leaders explicitly connect AI capability to individual opportunity. They don't just let it sit in the corner as this unspoken threat. Because if your team thinks the AI is there to replace them, they will find a million ways to quietly sabotage the pilot project.
Wow, yeah. They'll just starve it of the data it needs. Yeah. Then there's blocker number 3, and this is where I want to throw a flag on the play.
Okay, let's hear it.
Jonathan Rangamua from Valuable Finance brought up governance. He told the room, and I'm quoting here, governance is not a barrier, it's a necessity. It's the very foundation of AI adoption. Wait a second, wait. Isn't governance exactly what kills speed?
I know, it sounds crazy.
Right? Governance is literally red tape, committees, compliance reviews. How on earth can that be the foundation of adoption when red tape is usually the exact thing that keeps projects trapped in the POC loop?
It totally seems counterintuitive, I get it. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, especially from the perspective of a highly regulated industry like financial services, those businesses run on public trust. What kills speed isn't governance, it's retrofitting governance.
Retrofitting, okay.
Yeah, imagine you build this amazing AI model in a secure little sandbox. It works beautifully, but you didn't design accountability and explainability into the code from day one. What happens when you try to roll it out to actual customers?
Compliance flags it and asks how it makes its decisions.
Exactly. And if your IT team says, well, we don't really know, it's a black box, but hey, the math looks good, that model is dead on arrival.
Right.
Untrusted models get pulled from production immediately. Explainability is table stakes. The real challenge is calibration. Yes, obviously, too much governance slows innovation, but too little governance increases institutional risk to a point where the business will just defensively shut the whole project down.
Oh.
Governance is what actually gives executives the confidence to press launch.
Okay, that makes sense. So we have these 3 very real blockers, siloed data, fearful people, and misunderstood governance. But the symposium didn't just list the problems, they brought the receipts.
They really did.
They showcased a concrete, undeniable example of a company that beat all 3. We're talking about Singer Sri Lanka.
This is such a powerful case study for anyone out there trying to implement AI. So, Singer Sri Lanka has been on a joint data and AI journey with NeenOpal since 2018.
That's an 8-year journey.
8 years. They have 425 retail outlets. They've been operating in Sri Lanka for 49 years. And here's the kicker. They were working with legacy ERP data sitting in systems dating back to 2004.
Here's where it gets really interesting. 2004. That data is older than the original iPhone. It was probably being logged by an intern listening to an iPod shuffle.
Honestly, probably yes.
This brings up an analogy for me. I look at enterprise AI sometimes like building a skyscraper. Everyone wants to buy the shiny, futuristic glass windows, the AI models. But executives completely ignore the fact that they are trying to build this skyscraper on a swamp. And legacy data from 2004 sounds exactly like a swamp. How did they pull this off?
By fundamentally refusing to ignore the swamp. Mahesh Wijwardene, the managing director of Singer, said something super profound at the event. He said, don't try to rebuild your company to suit AI. Get AI to do the best out of your existing processes and systems.
I love that.
And the way they did that was by fixing the foundation first. For years, they didn't even utter the word AI. They just focused on data as a strategic pillar. They built a data lake, which is essentially a massive, organized central reservoir that pulls information from all those different subsystems to create a single source of truth.
So they basically built a universal translator for the whole company.
Exactly. And Damitha Sarasingh, the head of IT at Singer, pointed out that the behavioral culture was just as important as the data lake itself. They forced a culture of running meetings with actual data instead of anecdotes and gut feelings.
Oh, no more I feel like sales are down kind of meetings.
Right. They fixed the data and the human behavior long before they ever launched a single AI model.
But I have a question about the human element there. If they are applying AI to these old legacy processes, how do they keep a human in the loop without just making the AI redundant? Like, doesn't that slow it back down?
Think of it like the relationship between a sous chef and a head chef in a really high-end restaurant.
Huh?
The AI is the sous chef. It does all the brutal, repetitive prep work, chopping the onions, prepping the sauces, processing massive amounts of data. But the human is the head chef.
Right.
The human tastes the dish, applies judgment, and decides if it actually leaves the kitchen. In NeenOpal's deployments, they never remove human judgment from consequential decisions. The human role just shifts away from data gathering and moves entirely to interpretation, escalation, and final approval.
Let's make that mechanism crystal clear for you listening, because the symposium showcased actual live production results that prove exactly how this head chef dynamic works.
The numbers are amazing.
So, first example. RFQ automation. Singer's B2B sales channel was actively losing orders because it took them like 48 hours to respond to a request for quotation. A client would ask for a bulk price, and it was just a mess of manual lookups, unclear ownership, slow follow-up.
So they deployed AI agents to handle the prep work.
Exactly. These agents now instantly read the incoming emails, match the stock-keeping units, basically the barcodes determine current pricing, apply the right bulk discounts, and prep the final proposal document.
Oh.
The human sales rep just reviews the draft, ensures it makes strategic sense, and clicks send. The result? The response times plummeted from 48 hours to under 2 hours.
And notice that the human is still very much there, right? The AI did the heavy lifting, the human made the final call. But, that wasn't even the fastest process they showcased.
No, it wasn't.
Biswajit Das from AWS demonstrated a banking scenario, loan origination. So normally this process involves KYC, know your customer, checking IDs, risk profiles, along with bank statement analysis, income verification, credit scoring. At most banks, that takes a minimum of 7 days.
Which is agonizing if you are the customer waiting to see if you can buy a house or a car.
It's a terrible customer experience. So they deployed a new architecture using agentic workflows. They used 7 specialized agents and 1 super agent orchestrating them.
Wait, break that down for me. What exactly is a super agent doing behind the scenes?
Think of the super agent like a general contractor on a construction site. It doesn't pour the concrete itself. It receives the loan application, looks at it, and delegates. It says, okay, Agent A, you go run the background check. Agent B, you pull the transaction history and calculate average monthly income. Agent C, check the risk parameters. These subagents run off, do their specific microtasks concurrently in milliseconds, and hand the results back to the super agent.
That is wild.
The super agent then compiles a neat, logical summary for the human loan officer. Using this method, they handled that entire 7-day process in 56 seconds.
56 seconds.
Everything except the physical asset verification was fully automated.
It's hard to even comprehend that kind of speed jump. And if you think that's wild, look at their third use case, a supply chain control tower. An AWS customer in food distribution had 23 people managing supply chain risks manually across 20 different Excel spreadsheets.
Total nightmare.
Total chaos. So they deployed 5 people, 2 demand planners, 3 supply planners, and built a full AI platform to support them. And they built it in 3 weeks.
3 weeks is unreal.
This system tracks at-risk shipments in real time across hundreds of distribution centers. It automatically recalculates arrival times based on weather patterns, port disruptions, carrier performance, and it even recommends rerouting options, showing the exact cost differences between Plan A and Plan B.
Just think about the massive operational leverage there. You are replacing 23 people clicking frantically through spreadsheets with a focused strike team of 5 people commanding an AI control tower.
Yeah.
And the fact that they built it in 21 days proves a crucial point. When your data foundation is clean and your governance is already established, the actual AI deployment phase can be incredibly fast.
And they had one final use case that I know every executive listening will want immediately, Insight IQ. Usually, if a CFO wants a specific slice of data that isn't on their standard weekly dashboard, they have to put in an IT ticket. They wait days for a data engineer to build a custom report.
A painful process.
But with Insight IQ, the executive can just type a question in natural language against the company's live data, like, why are sales down in the Western region this week? The system gives them the answer, explains the variance, and identifies the root cause all in seconds.
Hours of waiting cut to minutes. Weeks cut to seconds. Dozens of manual processors replaced by focused teams commanding AI tools. And as the symposium made very clear, this isn't some theoretical white paper from a lab in Silicon Valley.
Right.
This is running in production today, driving real P&L impact built on Sri Lankan legacy data. This is what ROI actually looks like when you escape the POC graveyard.
So having seen this massive success from Singer Sri Lanka, the natural next question for anyone listening is, how do I actually do this in my own organization tomorrow?
Exactly.
I've seen the blueprint. Now, what is the playbook? Well, the symposium laid out a very rigid rule for enterprise leaders. One use case, one metric, one executive owner.
And that rule is non-negotiable. Distributed accountability is where AI projects go to die. Multi-use case programs almost always fail because no one's bonus is tied to their success. You have to pick a single key performance indicator, assign it to one specific leader, and hold them entirely responsible for moving that metric using AI. Once that one thing works and generates value, then, and only then, do you scale.
And to put a timeline on that, NeenOpal and AWS presented a literal 90-day playbook.
This is the best part.
Month 1, AI readiness assessment. You do the workshops, you map the roadmap, and you project the exact ROI before you spend a single rupee on development. Month 2, first production solution deployed. Not a sandbox pilot, a working system with live data and guardrails. Month 3, scale to the next use case.
It's aggressive.
Wait, hold on. 3 months. I have to call a timeout here and push back on this. Honestly, most enterprise IT departments take 3 months just to approve a software license and get through a basic security review.
Oh, absolutely.
Is this 90-day sprint actually realistic, or is this just a best-case scenario hallucination from a sales pitch?
This raises an important question. I know exactly how that sounds. Your skepticism is completely justified given how glacially slow enterprise IT traditionally moves. But you have to look back at the evidence presented in the room.
Yeah.
That supply chain control tower took 3 weeks. Singer's RFQ automation didn't take 6 months to deploy. The 90-day framework works precisely because it adheres to that golden rule we mentioned earlier. You don't rebuild the organization to fit the AI.
Right. You aren't doing a massive multi-year rip and replace software migration.
Exactly. You are applying AI as a layer over your existing processes. And crucially, the reason it doesn't get blocked by security in month 3 is because you design for production from the very first sprint in month 1.
Oh, that goes back to the governance thing.
Yes. You don't build a fragile, duct-taped pilot in a lab and then try to figure out compliance later. You build the governance guardrails, the data pipelines, and the human oversight loops from day 1. When the business problem is tightly scoped and you aren't fighting your own data silos, the deployment genuinely moves that fast.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you are prepping for a board meeting next week, trying to optimize your own department's budget, or just trying to wrap your head around this massive AI landscape, the ultimate lesson here is that enterprise AI is a behavioral shift.
A massive one.
It is an organizational discipline challenge, not just a fancy software update. It is about doing the unglamorous work, fixing your data silos, addressing the very real job anxieties in your workforce, and treating governance as a foundation rather than an afterthought.
If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, drawing directly from the conclusion of that symposium. Sri Lanka is widely considered a late mover in the global tech landscape.
Right.
Yet, the presenters highlighted that the conditions there right now, strong engineering talent, established legacy enterprise data, a highly favorable cost base, and robust new policy infrastructure like their data protection acts, actually give those local organizations an asymmetric competitive advantage. They can leapfrog the messy early adopter phase entirely.
The soil is incredibly fertile for this right now.
It is. So here's the provocative question for you to consider for your own business, no matter where you operate. If a company like Singer, dealing with messy retail ERP data from 2004, can fundamentally rewire its entire B2B operations and supply chain in a matter of weeks, what is actually stopping your organization today?
I'm curious.
Are you sitting around in committee meetings waiting for perfect conditions, perfect data, perfect governance, while the window of compounding advantage permanently closes?
Because the competitors who are moving AI into production in the next 12 months are building an operational lead that you simply will not be able to buy your way out of later. Think about those 100 executives sitting in that room in Colombo on a Friday night. They weren't debating if the AI revolution was happening. They were figuring out how to survive it and how to profit from it. The question is, are you? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Dataverse. We will see you next time.
Keep building, and we'll catch you on the next one.